Put me in, coach. I'm ready for the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. A Medicare podcast overdue for a visit to the dentist. And now, shining example to He-Man everywhere, Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode. No, it's this episode, I guess, of the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. As you might be able to tell, I'm very easily confused. It's early in the morning here in Arizona, and the sun is blinding me. I had to close my shutters partway just to be able to read my opening remarks. And in fact, I've decided my opening remarks as written are not worth reading. So let me fly by the seat of my pants for a few minutes. I am Doug Jones. I am here to help you feel confident about Medicare. I can help you enroll in Medicare properly so that you don't lose any of your God-given rights, your freedoms, your valuable, cherished opportunities to make changes in your coverage in the future. And yet I can ensure that you have enrolled in Medicare with the best possible, the highest quality protection, health insurance protection that is available under the program. There are a couple of options, and not all of them are as good as the options that I tell my clients to enroll in. And I do all of this by asking people to read my book, Medicare for the Lazy Man 2026. I suggest that people go to Amazon.com, type that into the search window, Medicare for the Lazy Man 2026, and they will then be able to purchase my book for very reasonable prices. If they want to get the paperback, which most people do, it's going to be an $11 purchase. The Kindle version is a $5 purchase if you've got a device that Amazon supports. If you would like to have somebody read the book to you, which is kind of the lazy man's way out, you can do the AC or the Audible version, and I think that's going to be $6 and change. And then, of course, if you're a high roller, if you want to be the envy of all the other kids on the block, you might want to purchase the hardcover version for a princely sum of $25. What you're going to get with that book is an introduction to Medicare. You're going to get a couple of jokes along the way. You're going to get an explanation of why some of the stuff is the way it is in Medicare. I don't know of any other book that explains Medicare the way I have explained it in Medicare for the Lazy Man 2026. But people wonder why the program has so many confusing aspects to it. And within the pages of that book, I explain why the program has confusing aspects to it. And I explain the advantages and disadvantages of each of those aspects. So by the time you finish the book, you will have more Medicare knowledge crammed into your head than anyone should ever have to put up with. But I will tell you this, after you've acquired the knowledge, after you've made the decisions that you're going to make as far as your involvement with Medicare goes, and hopefully after you've asked me to perform the functions that only a legally licensed insurance agent can do for you, you will be able to forget all of that Medicare knowledge. You won't have to retain that very long afterwards at all. And that is the beautiful thing about Medicare. Once you enroll and once you've done it properly, it's set it and forget it. You never have to revise your decisions unless you want to, unless something irritates you and you want to make a change. And you will always have that freedom if you follow my recommendations. So there are a couple of other things having to do with Medicare. One is the enrollment guide. Not everybody wants to learn all about Medicare. Often people just want to know what they have to do to enroll in Medicare. In other words, they know I'm an expert. They know that they want to follow my recommendations. What do I do? Well, I can sell you my Medicare enrollment guide on Amazon. If you put that into the search window, you're going to find my Medicare enrollment guide for a very reasonable price of $5 for a paperback. That's about the smallest charge they'll allow me to add to the book. If you want the Kindle version, it's in the neighborhood of $3, and there is an Audible version wherein somebody will read the book to you. I don't know what the price is on that, but I think everybody would be better off just going to MedicareForTheLazyMan.com. That is the magnificent website that Randy Carson has created for me. And if you go to MedicareForTheLazyMan.com and scroll down just a few inches, you will see a link that allows you to download Medicare Enrollment Guide free of charge. It'll show up on your phone. It'll be available on your computer to print. The book will be yours because it's really short, sweet, and to the point. It basically tells you all of the nuts and bolts about your enrollment process without any extraneous garbage. So that is book number 2 that I would recommend, and you can get that free of charge. Book number 3, when we are enrolled in Medicare, we also need a drug plan. Even if we don't take any drugs, we need a drug plan. That drug plan will protect us from having a lifetime late enrollment penalty if we skip the drug plan now, but a few years down the road decide that we need a drug plan because we're taking some expensive drugs. Well, along with that drug plan will come a late enrollment penalty that will last a lifetime. To avoid that, I suggest that everybody who becomes eligible for Medicare enroll themselves or allow their agent to enroll them in a prescription drug plan, Part D as in Delta of Medicare. And I have a book called Medicare Drug Plans, a simple DIY guide. That's also available at Amazon. And that book is a $10 purchase this year. If you have a Kindle, I think it's a $3 purchase. And that will allow you to go to the government website and enroll yourself. Well, actually, it'll allow you first to identify the drug plan that works best for you. By that, I mean the cheapest available for you. And then it will further allow you to enroll yourself in that plan. And the only thing about this program, this Medicare drug plan program, is that it has become mutated over the years, and it is not the stable, steady, predictable drug plan that it used to be. So when I tell you that your Medicare enrollment choices are set it and forget it, that does not apply to the drug plan. Every year, bad things happen to these drug plans, and it behooves everyone to do a search for their best drug plan for the following year, and you can only do that starting in mid-October. So keep that book handy. Once you've learned the process, you may still need to go back and look at the book for hints as to how to negotiate certain screens on the government website, but eventually you're going to need the knowledge every year in the fall to make sure that your current plan is okay for the following year, or if it's going to turn south on you, you've got to find the best plan that's going to be available starting January 1st and enroll in that. And you've got to do all that before December 7th. So those are the 3 books that I recommend that you purchase on Medicare or on Amazon.com. And speaking of purchasing things, Randy Carson, I think, has purchased a new T-shirt. I don't remember ever seeing this before. And it's Rich's, what does that say? You're reading it upside down there. Rich's Resto Mods or something?
This is that from that show way back when, been restored, Rich's Restorations in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. Never watched it. Never heard of that show.
It was really cool. They would take, a variety of older cars, a variety of older anything, really, and they would restore it to like a new condition.
Really? Well, that kind of reminds me of what I've been lately watching and enjoying on YouTube. I found this series accidentally, and I told you that I've been hooked on sovereign citizen police stops.
Yes.
So I watched all of those. I'm starting now to realize that there are a lot of reruns out there. And once I recognize some dope that's going to start a fight with the cops, I don't have to watch it again. I've already seen them get handcuffed and thrown in jail, a couple other times.
Yeah.
But I discovered, now it's because I'm a licensed agent with Hagerty collector car insurance, somehow I clicked on a link that came in one of their emails to me, and I wound up with a thing called Driveway Finds. And this is like a 45 to, well, 30 to 45 minute series of episodes where these two guys get some car that's like a barn find, and they haul it out of a barn.
Right.
Might have been sitting there for 30 or 40 years, full of rat feces and mouse poop and stuff.
Yeah.
And they take it. They've got a very nicely equipped shop, and they take it back, and they get these things running, and it's incredible. And it reminds me so much of all the cars I purchased, and I spent way too much money on each of my cars, turning them into gems. But if I had bought them when they were already gem-like, I wouldn't have had to spend so much money on them. But it's really interesting. They try to salvage the engines, and they try to get the old engines that are frozen up running again. And it's I've found it very enjoyable to watch a few episodes of this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I would get a huge kick out of that. And every time I hear a story like that, Doug, it reminds me of something that if I would have known they were there, I would have been out there with a handful of money. But there was a car, I think it was a Chevy dealer
Uh-huh.
out in the middle of Nebraska.
Uh-huh.
And every time he had a leftover, he was a new car dealer and obviously used cars also. But every time he got a new car and for some reason it got left on the showroom and he never got it sold,
Yeah.
he would just take it and put it in his barn. So out in the
his
middle
barn
of the,
or outside in a cornfield.
well, yeah, you're talking about the same guy.
Yes, I remember when the guy died and they put all that stuff up for auction. His parts that were, new old stock, and all of the stuff he had in addition to the cars was just a fantastic collection. But a lot of those cars had been sitting on mud. They'd sunk in up to their axles.
Yeah.
And the floors rotted out, and they needed a bunch of work. It was I just was unhappy to see that they had not been protected better from the elements, I guess.
Well, yeah,
But it was like a museum otherwise.
Either this guy had more money than he ought to have and just didn't care and just threw them out there because he couldn't sell them, or I don't know what he thought he was going to do with them. Actually,
I can tell you part of the mindset as an old dude. I'm much older than you are. Back in the day, it seemed like those cars were easy to come by. And if you had one that wasn't perfect and you sold it with the idea that you would just get a better version of it some other time, that was easy to do back in the 60s and 70s. It's become almost impossible now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In other words, that's why I don't want to sell any of my cars. People say, hey, you're getting old, you should sell your fleet. Yeah, but the thing is, I love them, and if I ever wanted to go back and get them, if I ever changed my mind, it would be hugely expensive to get what I have now replaced.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I never, the price of cars nowadays,
Yeah.
I'm probably going to step on some toes here, but in order to buy a new truck, okay, I just wanted to see, just for kicks and giggles, what is the biggest, baddest, most expensivest truck, Chevy, whatever you want, four-wheel drive, hot and cold running door handles, as we used to say.
Sure.
How much? Well over 100,000 for a pickup truck, okay?
It used to be like 20 grand.
Yeah, who has got, I can't imagine anybody spending that kind of money for a pickup.
Well, here's one of the things that I love about the new administration. They have removed some of the restrictions that caused the prices to be so high. Prior administrations, Democrats, let's say, did not like vehicles. They did not want people to enjoy themselves in the vehicle, so they had a lot of restrictions and a lot of things that drove up the price of vehicles. I'm hoping that we'll see some of those prices moderate on new vehicles. And, it's obviously they should have more choices. If you want a stripped down car without all the safety junk, you ought to be able to buy a stripped down, pickup or whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is why I'm not enthralled by new stuff. Sure, it's nice to ride around in a new vehicle and everything, but frankly, every new truck I see has way more doors than they used to have. I don't know where that came from. Who in the hell decided that everything should be a crew cab now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, as I've probably told you before, some days I want big, bad, fancy. Other
Sure.
days I want standard, no big deal. You know, like my Jeep, okay?
Yeah, yeah,
I can work on it myself for the most part.
yep.
It runs. It's going to run forever. I made sure of that. I change the oil every 12 and a half minutes. Bottom line is I take
Uh-huh.
really good care of it. And I don't, my dad used to say, why does everybody buy a new car? They're made to be repaired if you take care of them.
Well, my dad used to say, "I always buy new cars because I don't want somebody else's problems." So
Yeah.
that was his attitude, which was different than your dad's, and that was back in the days when the problems were easier to fix than
Oh,
they
yeah.
are today.
Yeah, they
So
had carburetors
yeah,
where you could actually get at it.
absolutely, they had points and stuff, and they
Points and yeah, I mean everything was out in the open where you could get at it.
you could
As
diagnose the problems more easily.
Yeah, instead, except for the 1971 Ford with a 390,
Uh-oh, what happened with that?
you could not get at the back plug on the.
Oh,
I can't remember whether it's the driver's side or passenger side,
yeah.
unless you put it up on blocks and drop the engine.
Yeah, yeah. I remember a couple of situations like that. I will say though that aside from that, I mean, and that would be a big problem, a big pain in the ass. But aside from that kind of thing, mostly you had an easier and cheaper time fixing things that went wrong. And also, let's see, what was I going to say? I did have a thought that was very cogent, very germane to this conversation. Oh, I know. When you're talking about your Jeep, you have done the greatest thing for the life of that Jeep that you could possibly do. Changing the oil is critical, and all the maintenance and everything, that's critical. But you also have stayed away from salty, snowy roads.
Yes, I have.
Whereas my Jeep, which was a 76 CJ5 that I bought in it was 2 years old. So when I bought that thing, it looked like new, but the rust was already eating it away. And
Was that the one you put a stop sign or something
yeah,
underneath the rug to keep
yeah,
instead of being like Fred Flintstone?
exactly right. That was exactly right. And that just slowed the process down. It didn't really solve it permanently. But I love that Jeep. It was a big black thing with huge tires, and
Yeah.
it was I had not a Western, a Myers snowplow for it.
Yeah.
Uh, and it was just a wonderful thing to have, but the rust just ate it away. And it was sad to let it go, but I found some guy who didn't have enough money to buy a new one, and he bought it from me, rust or no rust. He didn't seem to care.
Did you include the stop sign?
Now, the sign was there under the carpeting, so we never discussed it. I didn't discuss it with the buyer, but he did want that shiny Myers plow. Because
All righty.
that thing was a work of art. Once you got it wired up properly, yeah, you could do surgery with the edges of that plow. You could.
Was that one that had the marker stakes on the corners sticking
It
up
didn't.
so
You can add those if you wanted to, but I never needed to because I sat so high in that Jeep I could look
Oh,
down
so
on it.
you could see what you were doing.
Absolutely. And what we would do is, I've got a good friend. Ironically, his name is Smith, and we would ride the train together. But if it was snowy, if we had a big snow on a Friday night or a Saturday night, then he and I would get out and go plowing driveways on the following day, which would either have been a Saturday or Sunday. And we'd go out in the morning, and of course, we'd buy a case of beer and plow driveways. And the routine was always the same. The lady of the house would answer the door, and Wayne Smith would be up there knocking on the door and offering our services. And the wife would always say, "Oh no, my husband is planning to shovel the driveway later on today." And you'd hear it from the back of the house, "Wait a minute, wait a minute."
Hold on.
And here comes the husband running from the TV room with a fistful of cash, offering,
Yes.
whatever it was. How much do you need? Well, you need more money? Here, take more. I don't want to have to do it. And we would get a lot of work that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, trust me. I did my cousin and I did the same thing with a Jeep. We plowed with his Jeep. and we had a lot of fun. I don't know whether we made enough money to buy the beer we got, but
Well, the first time we did it, our wives thought we were nuts, and they happened to be spending the day together. So we went back to Wayne's house, and we both pulled cash money out of our pockets and threw it up in the air, and it was like a celebration, almost like a
yeah.
religious experience. And the women were so happy they never poo-pooed us again.
Well, that's good. That's a great story. You know
Yeah.
something? I suppose,
Uh-huh. You
as the
suppose?
nominal producer of this show, we probably better get
Yeah.
into the meat of the subject, which is
Yeah.
Corvettes. Okay, so let's talk about your Corvette.
Oh boy. Well, my next door neighbor is going to be the biggest Corvette, the biggest motivating factor in me getting the Corvette back out on the road again. He is fascinated with the fact that for 3 or 4 years I've been preoccupied with Medicare, and the Corvette and the GTO have been sitting in the garage gathering dust. And they're not nearly as bad as what you're going to see on driveway fines if you ever go to
Oh,
YouTube
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
watch
yeah,
one
yeah,
of
yeah.
those things. But they do need to be exercised, and so that's on my list of important things to do.
Cool, cool. Well,
But the other thought you
in
had
case
in
you
your
run
mind,
in case you run into someplace to get that blower put on, just let him
I
know.
know you're on my list of people to call if that should happen. All righty, so I guess it's probably time to get to work, huh?
We need to do something to make some money because we have to pay for that blower to put into your jet. Get it. We need a new hood. Well, unless you're going to cut the hood, I don't know,
Oh,
but you
ouch! No, I
probably
don't.
you probably want a new hood to do it with, and then you can put the old one back.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing. In case the content curator gets her vision back, I don't want to get yelled at for cutting a hole in the hood for the blower. I do. I think I'm starting to think I should get a blower to put on the Nomad, because a '57 Chevy with a Nomad with a blower on it is like
Yeah.
God created that. But we'll talk in more detail. I'm
Okay.
gonna.
Well,
I'm gonna.
we'll let the people on the podcast know how that's moving along.
Yeah, I'll report in periodically. But meanwhile, I've got my cubicle timer here, and I'm going to turn it so a number is up in the air. I think the last couple of times we've used the 30-minute mark, and it seems to drag. So I'm going to try 20 minutes, and let's see how that
Okay. Well,
goes.
let me adjust my timer to 20,
Okay.
and then I will scream when it's here.
Do that, because I may not hear the timer I'm using go off. The cool thing
Okay.
is that I've got an article that I may want to bail out of earlier rather than later here. It's a Medicare Advantage Minute article. Our Medicare Advantage Minute is the part of the each episode where I try to teach people a little bit about Medicare Advantage, and so that they realize that Medicare Advantage has some real disadvantages. It is not advantageous. And so this article actually is like good news about Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage premiums will drop, and they're saying to an average of $14 a month. Most plans have a $0 option. But the important thing is, even as total enrollment drops for the first time in over a decade. So this article is saying that Medicare Advantage premiums will drop, but also the total Medicare Advantage enrollment is going to drop for the first time in more than a decade. And Randy's editorializing about that. He's got a big thumbs up for that loss of enrollment that Medicare Advantage plans are going to suffer. The article says for 15 straight years, Medicare Advantage grew without interruption. More enrollees signed up, more insurers entered the market, and more plans advertised $0 monthly premiums bundled with dental, vision, and hearing benefits that traditional Medicare does not cover. That unbroken streak is now over. Now, David Keller is the guy who wrote this. I don't know. I'm hoping he's right. I don't know whether he has any authority to make a pronouncement like this. It could be guesswork on his part, but I've got my fingers crossed, and I'm pretty sure Randy does too. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, that's the U.S. government, announced that the average monthly premium for Medicare Advantage will fall to $14 in 2026, down from $16 and a half in 2025. That's roughly a 15% decline. But the lower price tag comes alongside a development the program has not seen in more than a decade. The government projects total enrollment of about 34 million, a figure the agency described as stable, but one that, after accounting for mid-year attrition and plan exits, represents the first time growth has stalled or even reversed since Medicare Advantage began its modern expansion. The combination matters to the roughly 33.8 million people currently enrolled in a private Medicare plan. Cheaper premiums sound like good news. A program that has stopped growing raises harder questions about what the enrollees are actually getting for their money. Medicare Advantage covered about 11 million people back in 2010, according to one source. And by 14 years later, 2024, enrollment had tripled, meaning that more than half of all Medicare participants had chosen a private plan, a Medicare Advantage plan, over traditional Medicare, original Medicare, plus a Medicare supplement. That growth was driven by the $0 premium offerings, supplemental benefits unavailable under traditional Medicare, and aggressive insurer marketing during annual enrollment periods. And Randy and I also can attest to the fact that underhanded marketing practices contributed a large part to their growth. The federal government fueled the expansion by paying the insurance companies a per participant rate that in many counties exceeded what traditional Medicare would have spent on the same person. The Medicare Payment Advisory Commission, MedPAC, flagged this repeatedly in its annual reports to Congress. I don't know why nobody was listening, but this has been going on for years, and it's not like it was a big secret. They estimated that Medicare Advantage cost taxpayers more per enrollee than traditional Medicare in a majority of markets. I think the figure we heard for 1 year was $74 billion. If Medicare Advantage didn't exist, they would have spent $74 billion less on the same group of people. So that dynamic made the program enormously profitable for large insurance companies. It also made it vulnerable to any policy shift that tightened the flow of federal dollars. So what is driving premiums down? The $14 average premium that I talked about earlier is a national figure spanning all types of Medicare Advantage plans, HMOs, PPOs, special needs plans, and every other Medicare Advantage plan type. It reflects the insurer bids submitted to the government for the 2026 contract year. Insurers set their own premiums based on projected medical costs, expected enrollment, and the federal benchmark payments they receive for each member. The government does not dictate premiums, but its payment rates shape what the insurers can afford to offer. So several policy changes are squeezing insurer margins and pushing premiums lower as companies compete to hold on to members. Boy, this, I don't know, this is a little cerebral for the audience that we generally address, but I just love reading about the troubles that Medicare Advantage plans are having, and how the fact that the government has caught on to the scam and is putting lower pressure on the reimbursement amounts, causing the plans to be to fall under additional stress. And for that, we read an article recently that some of the extra benefits like dental, vision, and hearing, and over-the-counter benefits and food and stuff like that, those are all being cut back or being deleted from the Medicare Advantage plans. So a little farther in this article, why a lower premium does not always mean lower costs. A plan that cuts its monthly premium, let's say from $25 to $0, can recoup that revenue. This is another place that Medicare Advantage plans can get you. They can recoup that revenue by raising the co-payments for specialist visits or increasing the out-of-pocket maximums, narrowing its provider network, or tightening prior authorization requirements for procedures and medications. A person who picks a Medicare Advantage plan based solely on the premium could end up paying hundreds of thousands more over the course of a year. Oh, hundreds or thousands more. if they get sick. That means if they need medical treatment. Consider a hypothetical enrollee in South Florida, one of the most competitive Medicare Advantage markets in the country. She might find dozens of zero premium plans available in her zip code, but if her cardiologist is no longer in network, or her biologic medication now requires prior authorization and a step therapy protocol, that free plan could cost her far more in time, frustration, and out-of-pocket spending than a $30 a month plan that preserves her current access. See, it's all about freedom of choice. You might be healthy as a horse, and you might sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan. If your health departs you over the course of years, you might find that you can never get back to Medicare with a supplement ever again. You'd be trapped like a rat in that Medicare Advantage plan for as long as you're in need of health insurance. So anyone enrolled in Medicare Advantage or considering it should review their plan's annual notice of change and evidence of coverage documents. Now, if you have a Medicare supplement with original Medicare, you don't need to review any of that stuff. When you get your annual notice of change for your Medicare Advantage plan, you're going to see that real misery can come with even just trying to deal with the lawyers that write that stuff. So anyway, I'm not going to bore everybody with all the rest of the details, but I will say that it's good news that these plans are under stress, and this could be a window to the future now that they have to figure out some way to deal with it. So a little change of pace here. I've got a person, this just arrived this morning. A person has written me, and they have a situation that not many people have. He went to MedicareForTheLazyMan.com and he filled out a questionnaire, which I received. And on that questionnaire, I always ask for do you have any comments or questions? And a lot of people have things to say. And so that always is an excellent window into what the thoughts are of my potential new clients. This particular client is in Kentucky, or a hopeful client. He's in Kentucky, and he says, I began Medicare Part A in 2011 due to a disability related to diabetes, heart and lungs, etc. I began Medicare Part B in 2019 for the same reason. And so he's under 65, and he's got Medicare Parts A and B, and he's on Social Security disability. He says, I currently do not think I have a Medicare Supplement Plan G or High Deductible Plan G. Now, this is where you find that he's a little confused. He doesn't think he has a Medicare supplement plan, but he doesn't know for sure. So he says, I do have a Humana Choice Give Back PPO plan. And that is really, he doesn't know this, but that's a Medicare Advantage plan. The give back word means that they will return some of his $200 a month Part B premium. And I don't know how much they're returning. $20 a month, $40 a month, probably not the whole thing, which is $203 a month. So anyway, he said, I've also got prescription drug coverage through this plan. I've had it since April, but it's a Humana plan. I'm not sure if that qualifies as a Medicare supplement plan. He really doesn't know what he's got. Nobody explained it to him in a way that he could understand, I guess. He says, I'm paying on a large hospital bill, near $100,000 that I've accumulated from previous hospitalizations. Currently, he pays $15 a month. Oh, I thought he was paying $15 a month for the hospital bill, but he's paying $15 a month for prescription drugs under the Humana Choice Give Back PPO. I have approximately 15 prescription drugs that I take regularly. I'm reaching out to you to explore quotes for Medicare supplement insurance options, Plan G or High Deductible Plan G. I think that may be in my best interest considering potential future hospitalization needs. I think my prescription drug plan is satisfactory. Well, I'm going to have good news and bad news to tell James is his name. I'm going to tell James the story, but I did a little AI research. Randy and I were talking about our favorite AI programs, and his has turned into a best friend, buys him drinks every once in a while, and mine is a little more arm's length. relationship, but my buddy here is Claude, and I asked Claude this question. I said, a man was on Social Security disability income, and so he had Medicare Parts A and B at age 60. What rights does he have upon turning age 65? And let's see here. Claude conjured and thought about it for a while and did some ciphering and licked the lead of his pencil and wrote down some numbers. And eventually, here's his answer. Medicare rights at age 65 for a prior SSDI beneficiary, Social Security disability income. This is an important milestone with some very valuable rights. Here's a breakdown. Number 1, Medigap or Medicare supplement guaranteed issue open enrollment period. This is the biggest rate. Under federal law, a person's 6-month Medigap open enrollment period begins the month they turn 65 and are enrolled in Medicare Part B. Since he already has Part B, his open enrollment period begins the month he turns 65. Now, I know that this gentleman told me his birthday was in March, and he was born in 1961. So his 65th birthday happened in March, and he's still within the 6-month period where he can enroll in any Medicare supplement plan of his choice that's offered in his home state of Kentucky. Insurers cannot deny him any Medigap plan that they sell in his state. They cannot charge him more due to pre-existing conditions, and they cannot make him wait for coverage to begin. Why this matters is one of the things Claude addressed. Under age 65 Medicare beneficiaries, disability-based, have a very limited Medicare supplement protections at the federal level. Many states don't require insurance companies to sell them at all, or they allow much higher premiums. Turning 65 unlocks the full federal guaranteed issue rights for the first time. Medicare Part D is in Delta, new initial enrollment period. He gets a brand new initial enrollment period for Part D prescription drug coverage, centered on his 65th birthday. He gets 3 months before and 3 months after, just like someone first becoming Medicare eligible at age 65. If he already has Part D, it simply continues. A Medicare Advantage, a new initial enrollment period. If he wanted to have a Medicare Advantage plan, unfortunately he already has one, that would give him the right to have a new Medicare Advantage plan. Seamless continuation of Parts A and B of Medicare. His Medicare continues automatically. There's no gap, no reapplication, no new premium changes for Part A, still premium free if he had sufficient work credits. So let's see, annual election period rights. Once 65, he participates in the standard annual enrollment period, October 15th through December 7th each year for a drug plan and Medicare Advantage if he has one. And the strategic takeaway, according to Claude, is the most time-sensitive and irreplaceable right is the ability to sign up for any Medicare supplement plan or Medigap that's offered in the state where he lives. If he misses that 6-month window, he may be subject to medical underwriting in most states for the rest of his life. He should evaluate Medicare supplement plans before his 65th birthday so he's ready to enroll promptly when the window opens. Well, in his case, a Medicare Advantage salesman got his hands around this potential client's neck and tried to strangle him until he enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan. But since he doesn't know exactly what he has, and since he understands that Medicare supplement could be advantageous for him, I think we'll still have a conversation. The bad news I'm going to have to share with him is that he's satisfied with his drug coverage right now, but he can't keep that drug coverage if he wants to improve his Medicare plan by going with a Medicare supplement, which is a big improvement in his health insurance protection. He has to leave the drug coverage that he has right now behind because it's part of that Medicare Advantage plan. And we're going to have to try and find a new Medicare drug plan that will accommodate his 15 drugs without breaking the bank. So he may have 15 very cheap drugs, a lot of generics, but he may also have some very expensive drugs in there that are going to drive his costs very high. So all I can do is explain to him, here's the good news, here's the bad news, and eventually he's going to have to make a decision as to whether to go to the go to the Medicare with a Medicare supplement direction, or to stay with his Medicare Advantage plan that has better drug coverage. Here's a little article that I like to see. Democrats ramp up efforts to repeal the Medicare prior authorization pilot. I don't know why it is that when it comes to Medicare, the enemy of my enemy becomes my friend. The people that I would not give the time of day to politically in any other way in these divided modern times are the only people that I can really call solid allies working to keep original Medicare free and open for all of us to enjoy. So the Democrats are trying to squash this experiment that the federal government has instituted by offering or by imposing prior authorization on regular Medicare in 6 states for about a 5-year period to see if they can save money by eliminating fraud and wasteful Medicare spending. Democratic lawmakers have introduced resolutions in the House and the Senate to overturn the government's wasteful and inappropriate services reduction, WISER. That's what that stands for, Wasteful and Inappropriate Services Reduction, WISER. That's the name of the model, an AI-assisted prior authorization initiative under traditional Medicare. The effort follows a May 12th determination from the Government Accountability Office that WISER qualifies as a rule subject to the congressional disapproval under the Congressional Review Act, opening a 60-day window for lawmakers to force votes on repealing the program. The government launched this WISER at the start of 2026 with plans to run the model through the end of 2031 in 6 states: Washington, New Jersey, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arizona. The model applies prior authorization requirements to select traditional Medicare services and relies on for-profit contractors using AI tools to process requests and reviews. Participating contractors are compensated based on a share of the averted expenditures, which some lawmakers have argued creates incentives to deny care. I agree. I don't like it. I just do not like that trial. Democrats have attempted to block WISER through multiple legislative avenues since the government announced the model last June, including appropriations amendments and standalone legislation, and they have not been successful. For the resolutions to take effect, both chambers would need to pass them, and the president would need to sign them into law. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that's what happens. We'll see, but it's I think I've used this analogy before. This WISER model of allowing original Medicare to institute prior authorization denials for types of procedures that were never subject to it before is like letting the camel get its nose under the edge of your tent. If you're sleeping in a tent, you don't want your camel in there with you. But if you allow the camel to get his nose under the tent, he's going to use his neck muscles and force his way in. And pretty soon you're going to have a companion that you never really wanted to have. Now, I told Randy at the beginning of this episode that I was going to try a 20-minute timer instead of a 30-minute timer. And the timer just went off about a minute ago. So I'm wondering if that complies with or comports with what you discovered from your timer.
Yes, it does.
So what do you think about the new, shorter, streamlined?
I do. I like it. It's going to force us to get right to the program and get her done.
All right. Well, let's continue it then. We'll continue the experiment and see if
yes, we will.
So,
all right.
I'm leaving my fate in your capable hands here.
Okay. Well, as usual, folks, grab your pencil. I don't care whether it's a number 2 or what it is,
or a Ticonderoga.
Or it doesn't matter. I've got this.
Yeah, that's a lot classier than most of my pencils.
So anyway, here we go. We're going to write down an email address so that you will have this for all eternity to use. dbj@mlmmailbag.com. dbj@mlmmailbag.com. You can use that to reach out to Doug day or night, 24/7 by 365. Doug is licensed nationwide to help you with your Medicare supplement planning, and ultimately all of our good stuff is available on MedicareForTheLazyMan.com. We would appreciate it if you would drop a review for us. We always could use those to stay ahead of the travelogue people. And last but certainly not least, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. You have just spent about 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the anti-insurance guy from Oklahoma originally. Now he's living in the high ground behind Cave Creek, Arizona, in the Nosebleed Mountains. And I think I measured it this morning at about 16,000 feet.
That's a lot. That's I'm shocked and disappointed, Randy. I've been lolling around in the relatively benign, 8,000 foot range, 6,000 foot, and I've been comfortable and happy, and now he drags me up to the, oh boy. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get this sorted out before our next episode, but I'm hoping you come back to find out what the resolution was. Until then, we'll see you. Bye-bye.